Okay, this is going to be a review of the Kahr Arms PM40 subcompact handgun, and we'll take a look at some of the features of it, its design, its size comparisons, etc., and see what you think about it. I think it's an excellent firearm. It's lightweight, it's compact dimensions, it has a short compact grip and barrel, smooth trigger, very accurate. NutNFancy's done a great review of the PM9 model, so I figured, well, that's kind of what I used in my purchasing analysis to decide on this gun, but I really like it. So let's get right down to business. First of all, make sure it's unloaded since we're checking it here. I'm going to check the magazine. Rack the slide. We're all empty, so everything's cool. Because in the process, when you have to take down these cars, you're going to have to pop out the slide stop lever and shoot the trigger like you do with Glocks. So there's a potential safety problem there with getting, shooting around. So in general, let's look at this. I mean, it's a stainless steel slide. It says it has a match grade bore to it. This is a 3-inch bore, I think. Basically, boy, where do I start with? The handgun comes with a flush mount magazine. This is the 40 caliber. So the flush mount magazine holds 5 rounds, and an extended magazine holds 6 rounds. So what I did is I went and bought a couple extra 6-round magazines, and I think an extra 5-round magazine as well. Now, one problem or complaint people have with the cars is they tell people to do a 200-round break-in period because when you first get it, it's really tight the way it's milled, and it's not very doesn't have a lot of play in it. So sometimes you'll have like a jam once in a while. But one thing they recommended to do is either fire 200 rounds through it at least, or another thing I found from another reviewer, you could just make sure we're unloaded. You could just rack the slide and keep disengaging the slide stop release, and that helps speed up the break-in period. Okay, so anyways, what's nice about this weapon, this is a double action trigger. It's a very smooth, long trigger pull. So it's quite a bit longer than a standard standard single action like a Glock or an M&P type trigger. Now, I did make some enhancements to this. If you've seen the website, this pistol, they have this really sharp checkering on the back and on the front of their grips. It really cuts into your hand if you're using it at the range, and it's kind of a pain. It hurts after a while. Plus, it's kind of slippery. So it's plastic, obviously polymer molded. And so what I did is on the top parts of the grip, Kahr makes a rubber decal grip, so I stuck the cutoff at the middle and stuck the top part on each half of the grip. And then this bottom part is a Hogue Handall Jr. It's a Hogue Handall Jr. And it just slips right on. It's like $10. I had to use like a razor knife to trim the bottom edge, but this helps a ton. It's really grippy. You can see from the back how it makes a little bit of a palm swell too. It just fits perfectly in the hand. So yeah, I really recommend that. And actually, with the flush mount magazines, even though this is shorter grip and your pinky rides under it, it actually once you get used to it, it fires pretty well, and you don't miss the extra attachment. Now with these extended magazines, they're nice because you can actually fit the pinky on there. But for ultimate concealability, you'd want to use the flush one, and you can carry a couple of these extended magazines on your hip. Or maybe here's an example of a single carrier for a single stack magazine that you could clip. This is by Don Hume Leather Goods, a metal clip with a leather case. Or also, I really like this one. I believe this is Black Hawk. It's a double single stack mag holster. So you can put 2 of these, and they're curved. And you put down your left hip, whatever, right on your belt. And that way you have more firepower, because since this is a smaller weapon, you don't have as much firepower. I mean, you've got 6 and 6. Let's say you have 5 plus 1, 6. That's 18 rounds. Whereas something like, if you had like a Glock 27, you might have 10 rounds and then another 10 in your magazine. Or even, like the M&P, same kind of thing. 10 rounds and 10 other rounds. Actually, while we're at it, let's do a little size comparison of the 3 of these, because these are common handguns that people use for concealed carry. So first, let's make sure everybody's unloaded. Okay, the car is unloaded. M&P is unloaded. Glock's unloaded now. It looks like that one was loaded. That was the carry gun. So that's why I'm checking them all. So I like to leave the slide, the action open, because then I know that it's absolutely not loaded, just to be on the safe side. Okay, so everybody's unloaded. Let's put all the magazines out of the way too. I don't want to accidentally put any of those in there. Do like that DEA guy does and shoot himself in the leg. Okay, that's open. Glock's clear. M&P's clear. Kahr is clear. Okay, magazines are away. Now let's take a look at an example. This is a Glock 27, had the grip modified in, and I did some stippling of it. It took like 3.5 hours, but I had grip reductions, fixed the grip to help the angle for my hand better. It's much better. Well, anyways, okay, here's an example of the PM40 to the Glock. You can see the Glock's a little bit longer. From the top view, a little bit thicker. From the back, you know, definitely there's a size and thickness difference, compactness. But for the height, you know, it's very similar. But, you know, I like using the extended magazines with this one. Let's take a look with the M&P. The M&P has a little bit longer slide, so it should be longer. So here we go. M&P is about 1 inch longer slide. Has a thicker slide, because it just is. Gives it more stability when you shoot, though. And then here's from the back as well. I really like the interchangeable grips on these M&Ps. This is an excellent handgun. I should do a review on that too. But you can see in each example how compact this little Kahr is. And I think the weight is something like 19 ounces maybe. Maybe it's a little less than that. 16 ounces with an empty magazine in. So there's a size comparison. I'll put those aside. Try to keep all the ammunition away. Alright, all clear. Alright, now with this Kahr, I mentioned it's got that double action trigger, longer pull. So it's a little different to shoot. But once you get used to it, it's nice because it's very smooth, and it's actually a built-in safety that way. It's a metal trigger. Let's see here, what else? Now, one problem people have had with the Kahr model, some Kahr models, is I think I noticed it more when it was brand new, is that what Kahr recommends is when you're chambering around, they recommend to leave the weapon open, insert the magazine, and then to disengage the slide stop, and then to chamber the round. Okay, so that we're chambered, so I'm going to eject that, make sure we're all clear. Okay, now with most handguns you could of course do it that way, but the other way people usually do it is when it's closed, is they'll put the magazine in and then they'll just pull it back either with the thumb or they'll just rack with the hand, and then they'll rack the round. But now that did just fine. I think because mine is broken in more and loosened up, it works well. But sometimes what you'll have as a problem, if you try that with the slides shut, whatever, not open, okay, sometimes it'll stick. There we go, like that. See? The round won't chamber because you pull the slide back without it open, so you can usually just hit it and then it racks. So that's, I guess, a shortcoming I would say about this model until you're used to it. These Kahr ultra compacts, subcompacts, whatever. But you know, the other thing to think of though is when you're firing, you know, and you get to the end of a magazine, what does the slide do? It locks back, so it will be open. So you know, once you know to chamber the round by using the slide stop release, you know, you'll be used to it. Well, anyways. Plus another thing I think that helps with this Kahr, it has a very steep feed ramp in there. And what I've noticed is, by picking ammunition, you want to pick something. These are jacketed hollow points. These are some Winchester in a white box, but this is very similar to Winchester PDX-1. But see how that's a nice rounded tip? Here's a Hornady example. Nice rounded tapered tip. They seem to feed better in these compact Kahrs versus very flat-nosed ones. So whatever kind of carry ammo you're planning on using, make sure first it's broken in, you've shot the 200 rounds and you've loosened it up some, and secondly, test at least 20 rounds or so in different magazines with your carry ammo to make sure you can depend on it and it will fire well and not jam, etc. So I'll put that round back over there. And the other thing I like is both of those and this are the nickel plated rounds, the nickel case rounds. They're smoother, they feed better in these magazines, and they also they go into the chamber better. They seem to they feed smoother and more accurately, and I have way less jams with it. The other thing to consider with this Kahr, because it's a very small handgun, subcompact, is a short barrel. So well, let's take a look at that a second. Make sure we're unloaded, all clear. Okay, now how you do this is somewhat like a Glock, and when you pull the slide back, so you'll see this gap here. There's two lines. So what you want to do is get these lines about even, and then push the back side here. See this button? I'm going to push that button out. So I'm going to slide that up, push that in. Now, at first it's really stiff when you get it. You might have to use a screwdriver or something hard. But anyways, we can wiggle out the slide stop lever. So there we go. So this is the problem where I was talking about, like with the Glocks. If you need to make sure it's not loaded, like we did, you know, and then because you're gonna have to pull the trigger, and then it's gonna let you take the slide off. So you can take a look at the polymer frame, a lot, you know, like a Glock, M&P, etc. You do have the polymer material. There's metal. There's metals guide. Actually, those look like reinforcement rods. It's kind of riding up here on this channel here, so that's why I put the oil. And then you can see, you know, where the back of it goes. Okay. Well, here's the stainless steel block for the slide. We'll take this out, and here's your barrel. So it's about a 3-inch barrel, very compact. But here's what I was talking about. It has a pretty steep feed ramp, so I like to keep it clean and oil it smoothly, so it helps the feeding of the rounds better. But it's, you know, it's a pretty well functioning pistol, and the way they have it mounted is they have the chamber lower, so it's closer to the back of your hand, and it's very accurate when you shoot this. Very accurate. I mean, you don't want to flinch. You got to get used to the trigger pull, but it's extremely accurate. I love the grip angle. These grip additions are excellent. Wow, they feel so good. Now the spring is a captured spring or a nested spring, whatever you call it in this double. But because it's so short, because the weapon's lighter, there's more potential. Like if you limp wrist it or don't hold it securely, that you could have a round jam. So, you know, I'd encourage you to, if you're using this, to and sometimes it's a pain in the butt to get this back in here, to make sure you keep a good solid grip. You know, so for the spring to recoil against. Okay, we're going to put this back on here. Now this is also trickier as you're putting this in. You see this little spring right here? It sits around there and it kind of comes up an S. You want to make sure that this bottom small protrusion on the slide stop lever gets under that. So, and make sure the holes line up. The manual talks about that. So we'll go in there, make sure I get it. Oh, and then also we got to push it back because the little half circle has to fit under there, right? Okay. Okay, so now we're all set. All clear, empty. Now another thing I noticed with this model, hope this review's not getting too long, compared to other guns, is I changed my grip slightly when firing. Okay, usually, you know, you hear people say when they fire, you know, you put your left hand on, then your right hand on, and then you fire. But with this model, because it's so small, look where the magazine release is. When I started using this pistol and you held it like this, guess what happens when you fire? The recoil shoves your thumb into the magazine release and the magazine drops out. So what I've been doing then, instead, is I adopted a new grip. And so basically what I do is I have my right hand grip, and notice how it's missing. I'm not hitting the magazine release. I usually have my left hand grip on, and I usually cross my thumbs, which gives it a little more stability. But then even with the recoil, I can't hit that magazine release. And so now I'm used to doing that on all the weapons, you know, regardless of which one it is. And it just keeps it more accurate for me, and I never hit that magazine release. So that's another precaution I'd say to these cars. You got to watch that magazine release. But I mean, in general, it's it's lightweight, it's compact. I mean, look at how thin that is. So it fits great in the hand. With these rubbery grip things, it's excellent. Accurate. You get used to the pinky under. It's actually pretty stable. Do some dry firing practice so you don't jerk, but then different ways to carry it. You know, this is a Don Hume leather goods holster. Comes in red and black. I think I bought it from Kahr, but Don Hume makes them too. It's for the MK9 or the PM9 also. So it fits pretty well. You could, if you're in waistband carry, tuck it in like that. What else do I have here? This one's a Galco. I don't remember what it's called. It's about 30 bucks. It's a suede one, but I think this might be for a different handgun. But almost, well, you know, that almost fits in there actually pretty well. It's really soft. When it's in the waistband, thinness helps. What else do I have here? This one, but I didn't really like it. This is a, for the Glock I have one I really like. This is a Black Hawk size 1. It works, but it's a little bit tall on the belt, a little wiggly. So I kind of like the leather one for that. And as another option, there's even a slide holster, kind of like this, which I think this is for the P9, yeah, or P, you know, the 40. It's the longer nosed one, but you know, it could work for this one. You put it on there, and then it fits on the back of your belt, slide holster, and it conceals really well. So in general, for concealment, it's nice to have a loose shirt over the top or a t-shirt covering it up. But when you have this, even this though, even in leather, when this is in your waistband, that's really not that thick. You just loosen your belt 1 notch and tuck that in, and with this small protrusion here, it conceals really well. So then you can have, you know, your 5+, you know, chamber one, so you could have 5+1, 6 rounds here, and then carry 2 extra in here, 6, so you get 18 rounds which is pretty close to the M&P or the Glock for capacity, but it's a little more concealed. And I haven't tried an ankle holster yet, but if I ever did, it's a pretty light gun. So hopefully that's a decent review for you about the Kahr PM40. It's a little more expensive. I think on average it's about $100 more than an M&P compact or a Glock 26 or 27 would be. So there you go. It's an excellent gun. If you have a range where you can demo shoot it, go ahead and test it. NutNFancy really likes it too. And yeah, I guess that would be one caveat. The only reason why I bought 40 caliber is because I had 40 caliber already I wanted to use. But if you were strictly doing this for new, a 9mm version of this, the PM9, is going to have less recoil. You're going to have one more round, so then you're going to have 6 + 1, and the extras would be 7. So you could carry 7 times 3. You could carry 21 rounds instead of 18 rounds. So for capacity and less recoil, same weight basically, well, around, the PM9 could be your choice. And it comes in all black, but I like the two-tone, that silver. I think it looks really sharp. So yeah, that's kind of the whole deal, and thanks for watching.